So today we're going to be talking about and spending our tech talk talking about authoring geospatial metadata in ArcGIS, both in ArcGIS Pro. I'll be covering that part. And then Sydney Lewis from ITD will be covering ArcMap. So I'm going to go ahead and get started now. Feel free to, at the end of these presentations or during the demos, feel free to unmute yourself and ask questions or pop those questions into the chat line. Thanks again for joining us on our Tech Talk. If you're not normally receiving the invitation for these Tech Talks, simply email me, and you can email me at giscenter@isu.edu and ask to be put onto the listserv for the Tech Talks series. I will note that this is being recorded, and we will put the video version of this out on our YouTube channel. Normally I get those out in about a week or so. So you will receive an email. Again, if you are a subscriber to our listserv, you'll receive an email that this video is available. And this is a video series, by the way, part 2 of 3 in the metadata series. The next one coming up is going to be led by Pam Bond on December 3rd, and Sydney is going to be talking a little bit more about that. So let me go ahead and get started with today's topic, and that is authoring geospatial metadata in ArcGIS Pro. Well, where's the metadata? We all remember that old commercial. Well, it wasn't where's the metadata, it's where's the beef. So let's start by learning how to find and read metadata in ArcGIS Pro. Kind of an important thing. So what we need to do there, and there's some ArcGIS Pro jargon here. We need to open the catalog pane. Everything is referred to, it seems like, as a pane, P-A-N-E, in ArcGIS Pro. And we're going to locate the item that we're interested in, maybe a buildings layer. We'll right-click on that item, and then we'll choose to view the metadata. Now, you have to understand that metadata actually can be written for any item in ArcGIS Pro. It doesn't have to be a feature class. It doesn't have to be a TIFF layer or something like that. Those are both examples of items, but a standalone table is another item that you could write metadata for as well. Well, here's the process. There's our catalog pane. This is the one that normally pops up along the right side of your screen in contrast to the contents pane that's normally on the left side. But here's our catalog pane. We find the item we're interested in, right-click it, and from that flyout, we choose View Metadata. And that then opens the catalog view, different than the catalog pane. And we're going to see something just like this. Well, you're going to say, there's not much to this metadata stuff. All I saw was tags, summary, description, credits, and use limitations. Wow. And you guys are spending a series of 3 webinars on metadata. Well, really, what you just saw is not metadata. It is the ArcGIS description, or the Esri description. We're going to contrast that to true geospatial metadata, such as that which follows the FGDC guidelines or the ISO guidelines. Those basic descriptions that we just looked at do not follow ISO, FGDC, or Idaho metadata standards. So let's say we decide to work on or work with the ISO, International Standards Organization, standard. So what we need to do then inside of ArcGIS Pro is to turn it on. In other words, enable this particular metadata style. And to do that, I'm going to click on the Project menu in ArcGIS Pro. I'm then going to click Options from the left side of the screen, in the normally in that bright blue area. and then I will choose metadata from the options window. And then I will, from the metadata style drop-down, I will choose the metadata style that I want to use from this point forward. In this case, I'm choosing the North American profile of the ISO standard 19115 revised in 2003. Now we go back to our catalog view and we see, yes, we still see tags and summaries and descriptions and use limitations, but we start seeing lots of other stuff. What's the spatial extent, the scale range? Give me some additional topics and keywords, a good citation. Oh my gosh. And this thing has a nice scroll bar, a very long scroll bar that goes into far more detail than the item description itself. But you probably noticed that most of my metadata is missing. Description, there's no description. Credits, there are no credits. Use limitations, there's no access or use limitations given, etc., etc. Bad, Keith. Bad indeed. Well, it's kind of intentional. It's hard to show you how to write geospatial metadata if it's already done. And I just say, well, just do what I did here. So let's fix this problem. To fix this problem, obviously we have to edit the metadata. We have to start really, in this case, create metadata. To do that, again, I'm going to go to the catalog pane. I'm going to do the same thing, locate and right-click the item. And now I'm going to choose edit the metadata. So now it's demo time. I have ArcGIS Pro running right here. This is version 2.6.3. That one, as you might know, just came out, it seems like a few days ago, earlier this week. I saw it was available and I updated. I have not seen anything dramatically different with it. So if you're using anything on the 2.6 on up, the metadata stuff's going to be the same. In fact, probably almost every version of ArcGIS Pro is going to be the same. So here's our catalog pane. And by the way, this is that project menu. There is the, right there is the options. And then we click on the metadata section right there and choose our metadata style. So I wanted to make sure I showed you that kind of on the fly. This is the catalog pane we're focusing on. That is the layer that has no metadata right now. And it's been stripped out actually for this presentation. I'm going to go ahead and click on Edit Metadata. And the nice thing about this is, you know, it's telling me what is required. Some of the metadata has gone in, been put in the past, but other pieces are just empty. So you look over here on the left side, and you'll see a big red X or fairly large red X. You need to do the item description. That's that. Then we need to move along into the next page, topics and keywords. The next page, citations, details. And we step through it. On a brand new piece of geospatial metadata, everything is going to have a red X. And you do want to complete it as comprehensively as possible. As a GISer, you're going to, as far as I'm concerned, I really need to know things about the spatial reference. This is very important stuff. And I also need to know about the entity and attributes, or the fields, you might call it. So you're going to see, you know, all of this, all of these individual fields shown that already exist in this layer, but what you'll notice is that there's no information about them. So think about if you just received this data layer and you don't really know anything about it. So you go to the metadata, you want to start reading the metadata so you understand, okay, I know it's in this spatial reference system, Idaho Transverse Mercator, NAD 83. What does street rep mean? Well, what I'd like to read in here is a good description to help me understand what the street rep field is telling me or supposed to be telling me. And I'll do that for every one of them. And you don't have to prefix everything with this field is this and this. Skip that. Just get right to the point and let a person know what this field is really trying to tell them. If it uses a coded value attribute domain, you'd want to tell them that. If it uses a range domain, tell them that and explain what those different codes are if they actually look at those individual codes in the database instead of seeing the text description. Very important stuff for the user of these data. Don't forget to modify and update these. When was the data last updated? When was this layer last edited and updated? And let me scroll down a little bit more. Who did those edits? Okay, sometimes it's an automated process that people have built in. Other times it is not. So these are important things. As far as I'm concerned, we really need to have very, very good information, really across the board. But my focus is normally the spatial reference and the fields or entity and attribute information. Now, sometimes you're going to have some metadata that is kind of redundant, right? For instance, you're going to have like here at the GIS Center, we work with a lot of satellite imagery, and that satellite imagery from MODIS, that product that we work with a lot is available every 16 days. So we have 16-day shots of that metadata satellite, or that MODIS satellite imagery. And effectively, the data is all the same, except for the date in which it was acquired. 23 of those scenes per year, and if you have a collection of about a decade, now we have 230 layers that need metadata documentation. Hopefully, you don't have to build all those at once, and you've been keeping up on building your metadata, but you certainly don't want to write it, the metadata for every single layer one at a time. So there are tools available inside of ArcGIS Pro and inside of ArcMap where I can build all the metadata for one layer, and if it's identical to another layer, another 16 days later, I can export that metadata and then import that in an XML format into the next MODIS image scene, those sorts of things. That greatly reduces the burden of writing metadata. And in fact, it also makes your metadata very consistent. So that's a really good trick for, let's say, time series data. Just make sure that you do make the change in the metadata describing the time period for which the metadata, for which the layer is describing. So I am going to pause right now and see if I'm going to pause and turn over the reins to Sydney to talk about metadata editing in ArcMap.
Thank you, Keith. Can you all hear me?
Yep, you're loud and clear.
Awesome. All right, let's get this pulled up. Nifty trick that Keith taught me. I had no clue. I could switch it over to this view. All right, so my name is Sydney Lewis, like Keith said. I'm from the Idaho Transportation Department. I'm also part of the subcommittee that has sent out in the past over the Geotech Serve about metadata. So we thank all of you participants in that gave us some great data. That's part of the reason why we have kicked off this series of metadata type tech talks to better involve and educate you folks in how to do proper metadata. And we know that metadata is not everybody's favorite thing. It's not the funnest thing to do, but it definitely is important, especially when today and age we're sharing our data more prevalently online, and more of the public is aware and involved in it. And it's great to have some good credits, points of contacts, information about your data out there, so folks are more involved with that process. So like he said, I'm going to go over how to edit your metadata in ArcMap. We know, well, I know right now a lot of folks are doing the transition over to ArcPro, which is great, and they have a lot of great options within there. But there are some of us still utilizing ArcMap for one reason or another. I know the transportation department is utilizing ArcMap still because we have some functionality with the linear referencing system that keeps us in the desktop software or the ArcMap edition. So I'm going to show you how to utilize ArcMap and some of those basic functionalities there to edit your metadata within there. So I created videos of how you're going to go about actually changing your standards within ArcMap. It's pretty basic. So where you'll go is you'll go up to your Customize tab along the toolbar, your ArcMap options, and then when that opens up, it will bring you back to your ArcMap options, and you'll click the Metadata tab within there. That gives you a drop-down very similar to ArcPro, where you can select your standards in which you're going to follow. There's the ISO, SGDC. Most of y'all are stuck in the item descriptions, just kind of a standard when you initially open up ArcMap for the very first time. So you'll need to go in and change those standards. For the purpose of this demo, I selected the FGDC for that, so that we can get all the good information set in there. So how do you actually get to the metadata when you get into ArcMap? That's what this is about. You'll actually go to the layer that you're going to want to edit or view the data for. You'll go to Data. You'll go to View Item Description, and then that will bring up the actual box of metadata that you're going to want to view or edit. The one that I chose today, the layer that I chose today for this demo, actually has a little bit of data that is old and out of date. We have a point of contact within it that has actually retired. He retired 3 or 4 years ago. So I'm actually going to show you how to get in there and edit that data in the next slide. So when you get to this screen, you'll actually go up to the, I'm going to show you where the point of contact is we're going to edit. He is no longer with the department, and we get a lot of folks that call his old number, which is not good. So you'll go up to Edit, and you'll go down to your contacts, and you can switch around contacts, which is nice. I, for this demo, added myself to the system because I actually am the point of contact for a lot of this data. I actively have some applications utilizing our maintenance yard data for ArcGIS Online. So it's good to have myself as a point of contact for folks to be able to utilize and see who to contact for this. So you can go in here, you can add your name, your email, your location. I did our physical address, but it's also our mailing address for the transportation department. You can also add your work phone number, which is where I currently have mine set to go to my my work phone on campus, even though I am working from home currently. You can also add your business hours, which I think is an important deal because you don't want folks calling you out of your service hours. So I added here instructions regarding where to call and how to email and what my service hours would be for these folks. And then after you complete your edits, you'll want to check, make sure everything looks right, hit save. And then it kind of shoots you back to the screen to view your metadata. Then that's where you're going to see those changes occur within the metadata, which is important. And since I added myself as a contact, this will show you can actually change within your metadata yourself as a point of contact for other information as well. That's what I am going to show here. You can go into the contacts. We notice Tom is still in there. We want to delete him and then add myself as the metadata contact as well, so that they know that I am the one that's currently keeping the metadata up to par. So that is the basics of how to edit the point of contact within the metadata. I didn't do like Keith had done with kind of like a empty slate for metadata entry today, just because to save some time, and there is quite a bit of the metadata already filled out and edited in this selection. So that is, in a nutshell, how you get to the metadata, how you edit the metadata and visualize your metadata within ArcMap. Let's see, the next slide, like Keith had said, that I was going to chat a little bit about the Tech Talk series that we have for metadata. Most folks have now seen the first 2 Tech Talks. We do have another Tech Talk coming up on December 3rd. Pam Bond will be giving that Tech Talk. She's going to be talking a little bit about how you can share and visualize metadata online, and how to edit metadata online as well. So that will be a general overview about more of the online approach, whereas today was more of the desktop approach. So hopefully you all learned a little bit of information today. Is there any questions that anybody has?
Yeah, the floor is open for any questions that you might have. Feel free to unmute yourself or put your question into the chat line. And while you're thinking, Sydney made a good point about a lot of folks are transitioning from ArcMap into ArcGIS Pro. And I wanted to take a little bit of an opportunity to let you know about the GIS workshops that we're offering in just a couple of weeks. Early in December, I'll be offering a series of workshops, of 2 workshops. The first one is Becoming Productive with ArcGIS Pro. That's on Tuesday, and I believe it's December 7th or 8th. It's all there on our website. And then the other one, and I'll bring that up so you can see that. The other one is a LiDAR workshop. And that one actually is free. So if you're interested in learning about LiDAR, you can register for that workshop. And of course, if you wanted to learn how to transition to ArcGIS Pro from ArcMap, that is our Becoming Productive with ArcGIS Pro workshop. And that one you can see is on December 8th, Tuesday, December 8th. Working with LiDAR, also in ArcGIS Pro, is on the 9th. I realized after presenting and then handing off the baton to Sydney that I didn't really show you how to import and export, or export and import the metadata from ArcGIS Pro. So now I am back on ArcGIS Pro. This is that catalog view. And by the way, to get to this, you have to be out of edit mode, and then from here, from catalog view, you'll see that there's the import tool and the export tool. And then just for the fun of it, I did an export and then imported into a very similar layer. And pretty much everything comes across, not 100%, but the great majority of those metadata items does come across, and that's a wonderful time saver, as I alluded to earlier, especially if you're working with time series data. So if there's a question for either myself or Sydney, please let us know. And you can also email us later on, or email me, and I could forward a question to Sydney if you don't have her email address handy. Thanks again for attending the Tech Talk with the GIS Trek.
So Keith, it does look like we have one question from Margie. She did ask, is there a way to do a search for a keyword while editing metadata?
Search for keyword, is that in ArcPro or is that in ArcMap, Margie?
Either, she said.
Either one. You know, I think, oh, why this one defaulted back to the regular item description. That's interesting. Oh, I see why. It's just this isn't applicable metadata. Let me step back into this. There we go. I think if I search from here, I will be able to find something, and then of course I can select it, edit, copy it, and paste it. I can just do a Control-C as well. So if I'm looking for, let's specifically, I'll look for, I'll look for Pocatello. Let's just see if I can find it. Yeah, there we go. I don't know if that's exactly what you're talking about. I just hit the standard Control-F, find key combination, searched for Pocatello, and then I said, oh, that's all the places in that reference Pocatello. Let's see if I can do the same thing in edit mode. See, I think it's only going to find things on an individual page, though. Let's see. Not at all. So we have to be out of edit mode for that search to work, which probably isn't the greatest, because what you're probably wanting to do is to find something like this, copy it, and then paste it into here. You're in great shape if it's on one page, but not so great if it's between pages, perhaps. I don't know, does that address your question, Margie?
Looks like it does. She said yes. Great. Thank you.
Yeah, that's the best trick I can find, just the normal Control-F. Sydney, did you have any other tips or tricks on that particular question?
I haven't, and I haven't actually, other than just using the Control-F in the ArcMap environment, been able to do that within the editing. It might differ in the online editing mode, so that might be something that we see next time with discussion.
Right on. Yeah, very good. Any other questions?